You're listening to Echoes of the Unknown. Here we don't talk about motivation, success, or everything is fine. Here we talk about the quiet things, the things you feel at 3:40 in the morning and can't explain to anyone without sounding insane. If you've ever looked at your own life and thought, this can't be all, this can't be me, then this place is for you. What you're about to hear is not a fairy tale about enlightenment. It's not a promise of happiness. It's what really happens when you begin to wake up. And I have to warn you, it doesn't start with peace. It starts with collapse. This is awakening, the part nobody tells you. Stay. There is a moment nobody warns you about. It doesn't feel like light. It doesn't feel like truth. It doesn't feel holy. It feels like looking at your own life and realizing, this isn't mine. Outside, nothing looks wrong. You wake up on time. You go to work. You answer messages. You laugh when you're supposed to laugh. People think you're stable, reliable, calm, which usually means useful to other people, and useful people are appreciated, but they're not really seen. That was my life. I woke up at 6:40 every morning, not because I wanted to live that day, but because the alarm rang, and if I didn't get up, I'd get in trouble, and I didn't have energy for trouble. That was the pattern. Not I want, but I don't want problems. I worked as a tech, not something heroic. You go out, fix what's broken, air system, server room, access control, and move on. If you can't fix it, you call someone who can. That was me, a patch, a tool. It wasn't a calling, it wasn't a dream, it was just the role I happened to be inside. And then something started happening to me that I couldn't explain. The sound would disappear. I'd be in the bathroom in the morning, water running from the tap, dripping, hissing, echoing, and then click. Everything went silent. I could still see the water. I could see steam in the air. I could see my own breath in the mirror, but I couldn't hear anything. No pipes, no hallway noise, no distant traffic, not even my own breathing inside my head, just mute. It lasted maybe 1 second, maybe 2, and then reality came back on like power being restored. At first I thought, stress, no sleep, nervous system, but it kept happening. Once it happened while I was in a client's office. He was complaining about the noise in his server room, saying how the fan was making him crazy, giving him a headache. I can't work like this, man. Mid-sentence, everything cut out again. His mouth was still moving, but there was no sound. And in that silence, I saw him in a way I'd never seen anyone. Not as the client, as a body, as a tired, nervous animal in pain, repeating the same line he's said 1,000 times, not even asking for help, just performing stress. And that's when it hit me like a punch. Most people aren't really here. They're just running their script. And then a second thought, and so am I. Am I even alive in my own life, or am I just repeating lines I didn't write? That was the first crack. Then the dreams started. They weren't dramatic. No angels, no monsters, no apocalypse. They were too normal, too warm. In the dream, I'm sitting in a small kitchen at night. There's tea. It's raining outside. There's someone else there. A woman. I don't see her face. We're not talking about the meaning of life. We're not having some dramatic, cinematic moment. We're just there, existing in the same quiet. And in that dream, I feel something I hadn't felt in years. I don't have to perform. No mask, no image, no I'm fine, no don't worry about me. Just presence, total peace. And then I'd wake up in my real apartment. No rain, no warm light, no one in the kitchen. Silence, cold sink, cup from yesterday I didn't wash. And it hurt, because the dream felt more real than my real life. That is a terrifying thing to feel, that the version of you in your dreams is more alive than the version of you who goes to work every day. After a few nights of that, I realized something dangerous. I didn't want to wake up anymore. Not I want to die. Not I can't take it. Number. Just, if that world is real somewhere, I want to stay there instead of coming back to this one. That's when I understood this wasn't stress. This was the beginning of something breaking. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I wrote. Messy, not poetic, not Dear Diary. I wrote, I don't know who I am. I don't know why I wake up. I don't remember what I actually love. I feel like I'm just filling in for somebody. I kept writing until my hand hurt. And when I looked down at the page, something cold went through me. The handwriting wasn't mine. Same pen, same hand, but not the same energy. The writing looked calm, steady, certain, like it was written by someone who wasn't shaking inside. And a thought just appeared in my mind. Maybe that someone is me, the real me, the one I was supposed to be, or the one I used to be before I started living on autopilot. And that thought scared me more than anything, because if that's true, it means I've been missing from my own life. That was the second crack. After that, everything began to fall apart. My focus went first. Simple codes I knew by heart just vanished from my head. Routine calls started to feel unbearable. Every "can we talk real quick" made my stomach twist. My boss called me in, very polite, very professional. "You've always been reliable. Are you okay? Do you need some time off? We just need you present again." Translation: pull yourself together, or we'll find someone who will. I sat across from him, nodding, saying all the correct survival phrases. Yeah, just tired. I'll reset. I'll get back on track. But inside me, there was something I hadn't felt in years. Stillness. Not panic, not shame. Stillness. Because I knew, crystal clear, sitting in that office, my old life was ending, right there, in that chair, in that polite conversation about performance. And I couldn't stop it. And this is the strange part. I didn't even want to stop it. When I walked out of the building, the air felt wet, metallic, cold but not raining. You know that kind of weather. And I felt something I almost didn't recognize. I didn't owe anyone anything anymore. Not be the reliable one. Not be the calm one. Not be the good soldier. Nothing. And right after that, freedom came pure panic. Because when you stop living for other people's expectations, you realize you have no idea how to live for yourself. I went home, turned off the lights, sat on the floor with my back against the bed and just breathed. I thought I was going to cry, but I didn't. Instead, I felt something else. Something is about to begin. Not a new job, not a fresh start, not a motivational chapter, just something is coming. That something came at 3:40 in the morning. I woke up, not from a sound, not from a nightmare, just awake. The room was dark, but I could see shapes. The edge of the chair, the window, my own hands. And immediately I knew I wasn't alone. I don't care if this sounds crazy. I knew. It wasn't fear. It wasn't, "there's a man in my room." It wasn't a ghost story. It was presence. Like someone sitting quietly near you, not touching you, not speaking, just being there. And then something happened that I can't explain in normal words. A message arrived, not a voice, not a whisper, not even thoughts, just knowing, instant, complete. It said, "You woke up. Now everything will fall apart." That was it. No comfort, no instructions, no "follow me." Just the diagnosis. You woke up. Now everything will fall apart. And the sickest part? I felt relief, because finally it made sense. Finally someone said it plain. Finally I didn't have to pretend that I'm fine. It's just stress. Number. It wasn't stress. It was truth. Once you hear that truth, you can't go back to sleep. The next day, the world looked wrong. People around me didn't look like people. They looked like roles wearing human faces. I'm okay. I'm busy. I'm grinding. I'm living my best life. Lines delivered on autopilot. And I realized most of my relationships weren't real connections. They were shared performances. When the performance ends, the connection ends. That hurts, because you thought you had people. But really, you just had roles that matched your role. When your role dies, those bonds die with it. That's the part of awakening nobody markets. It cost you almost everything that depended on your lie. Then comes the quiet panic stage. From the outside, you look normal. You cook. You reply to messages. You shower. You're not screaming. You're not breaking things. But inside, you are in freefall. It's not depression. Depression says, I don't want to live. This is different. This says the world everyone else believes in doesn't hold me anymore, but I don't have a new world yet. Your old identity is gone. Your new identity hasn't formed. You're between, and between is the most terrifying place a human can stand. Because in between, there are no instructions. You can't ask for help, because most people haven't even noticed they're asleep. How are they going to help you wake up? That's when philosophy stops being a quote and becomes survival. I was walking past a window, saw my own reflection, stopped, and I asked honestly, who am I if I'm not performing anymore? Not, what do I do? Not, what do I look like? Not, what do people think of me? Who am I without the act? And I realized I didn't know. I was almost 30, and I didn't know who I was. I knew what I was supposed to chase. I knew what I was supposed to post. I knew what I was supposed to say in order to be a respectable adult. But what actually made me feel alive? I had no idea. When you admit that for real, not as drama but as fact, something inside you breaks and heals at the same time. Because your ego dies a little, but the truth finally gets air. After that came the emptiness. People think the worst part of awakening is the chaos. It's not. The worst part is the quiet after the chaos. There's a phase where you're no longer who you were, but you're not yet who you're going to be. It's silent. It's uncomfortable. Most people run from it. They go back to the old life, to the job they hate, to the relationship that kills them, to the I'm fine mask, because even a lie feels safer than emptiness. I almost did that. But then something happened in that silence. For the first time in years, nobody was demanding anything from me. Not be productive, not be strong, not be normal, not don't be dramatic. In that quiet, I felt something I didn't recognize at first. Freedom, tiny, barely there, but real. And in that quiet, another message arrived. Not a voice, just certainty. Now you can choose. Not, this is your path. Not, here is your calling. Just, now you can choose. And it hit me. Until that moment, I had never actually chosen my life. I had just followed obligation, followed expectation, followed survival. Choice was new. So I asked myself a question I had somehow never asked honestly. What makes me feel alive? Not safe, not approved, alive. And the answer came immediately. That feeling from the dream. Not the person in the kitchen, not the scene, but that atmosphere, that warmth, that simple permission to exist without performing. I realized that's what I want to create in the world. Not a product, not a brand, not some become better program. I just want to build spaces, even small ones, where people are allowed to exist honestly, without performing, without saying I'm fine when they're dying inside. It wasn't a business plan. It wasn't a life mission. It was direction. And with that direction, for the first time, my mind went quiet, not empty. Peaceful. Now, if you ask me, so are you happy now? Are you enlightened? Number, it's not like that. I still wake up some nights and feel that presence in the dark. I still sometimes hear reality cut out. Total silence, like someone unplugged the world. I still can't sit in fake conversations without getting physically sick. I didn't become holy, I just stopped lying. Sometimes that feels like relief. Sometimes that feels like walking around with no skin. But here is the truth I need you to hear. Awakening is not light. Awakening is exposure. It's when you can't pretend anymore. It's not you found the answer. It's you can't swallow the lie. It's not instant joy. It's responsibility. Responsibility to live as the real you. In a world that keeps asking you to go back to being convenient. And yes, it destroys things. It will cost you relationships that only love the mask. It will cost you the identity you built to survive. It may cost you the version of success that was killing you slowly. But what you get in return is quiet. Not fireworks, not euphoria, not a new you montage. Quiet. The kind of quiet where you wake up, sit on the edge of your own bed, and for the first time in years, you don't hate yourself for existing. You don't need to perform I'm okay. You don't need to hurry into the costume. You can just be. That's not happiness, that's peace. And peace feels so unfamiliar at first that you almost reject it. You think, this is too simple. This can't be it. But yes, that's it. And here is the last thing I'll say. That presence I felt in the dark at 3:40. That voice that wasn't a voice. The silence that shut off the world. The calm handwriting in my notebook. It wasn't some angel. It wasn't some higher being. It was me. Not the version of me I was trained to play. Not the version built for approval and performance. The original me. The one from before the mask. And once you meet that version of yourself, you can never fully go back to sleep again. You can lie to other people. You can even lie to yourself for a while. But you will always know you're lying. And that knowing is awakening. Not enlightenment. Awakening. And it always, always, always begins with chaos. If this reached you even a little, don't lose it. Most people fall back asleep because it's easier to be what the world wants than to be what they actually are. Here, we choose the opposite. You're listening to Echoes of the Unknown. Subscribe, stay with us, and listen to the quiet places inside you that you've been taught to ignore. Because the moment you hear them, your old life is already over. And that's not the end. That's the beginning.